I ask Him in my heart. I want to show everybody that I'm a Christian. Basically, grew up knowing Jesus. I just never really prayed until I was 6. I realized that I wasn't saved yet, and I wanted to get saved, and I prayed in Caroline. I wanted to show other people that I am a daughter of God.
I backslid and got into drugs, and I lost connection with God. I've been struggling over 20 years with it, and May the 13th, 2015, I dedicated my life back to Christ and got connected back to Him. And I've been serving Him faithfully every day since then. And I decided I want to get baptized because I'm ready for a life change.
My life has been a broken mess for a very long time, and I've fought a lot of battles the past few years, but it's only been through God's grace and through the people that He's put in my life that I can be transparent with and pray with, that I've been actually able to come to the point now where I can say, I'm living each day in the victory of Christ. Time after time, God has shown me that, you know what, when you reach out, I'm there to hold your hand. God has been really, really convicting me and saying, you know what, I want you to put me at the center and say, God is absolutely what I want in my life. And I want to proclaim that as loudly as possible, as publicly as possible.
My parents separated when I was a sophomore in high school, and I knew right from wrong. I had been in church, so I knew about God. So I knew to say no to drugs, of course. But I was very curious, and I pursued that. By the grace of God, I'm not in prison, and I'm not dead. I received Christ at Shepherd's Gate with Miss Minda, and just the peace and the happiness that I felt there is just, it beats any high I've ever had. I just can't compare it. So now I want to get baptized to confirm that, yes, I'm saved.
He saved me. He took my sin. He took my arrogance, my excuses, my lies on Himself, and He replaced it with not just a clean slate, but a slate that wants to stay clean, a slate that wants to not be defined by my flesh anymore, but by His word, by His will. I will have struggles, but I know now that I can face those struggles relying on His strength. And I want to tell everyone that they can do the same.
I was choosing to please myself and not Jesus, and I was going to go to hell. He died on the cross so that I wouldn't have to. I took His gift, and I was a Christian by asking Him into my heart. I had sadness in my heart. He died so I could go to heaven, so I asked Him into my heart. I want to show others I'm a child of God, and to me getting baptized is a way of telling others about Him.
North Hills was doing the study, Are Your Bags Packed? And my mom brought it down to a 9-year-old's level and showed me what that phrase meant. One night I just had questions about how to be saved and what it meant. And then my parents lovingly walked me through what Jesus did for me on the cross and how I was supposed to be saved. He has shown me what true friendship means and what being confident in Him, and I now know that my identity is in Him, and I shouldn't have to be afraid of what people would think of me or how they will accept me, because I know I'm His child. I want to show my friends and family that I am a follower of Jesus now, and I'm not ashamed of that.
I was running from Him, but now I start realizing how much He loves me. And that means more than anything, and to start losing this anger that I've walked around with, which caused me to start drinking, drugs, and I was just tired. And I just get closer and closer to Him every day.
When I was younger, I wanted to be Christian because I didn't want to go to hell, and just that fear would sometimes it would push me towards God, and sometimes it would sort of push me away. I was at my grandparents' church, and they, I can't remember what the pastor said, but I knew I was saved. It's just partway through, I started crying, and I just knew I was saved.
Before I met Jesus, I was like pursuing men and like worshiping my drugs. It took a lot for me to meet Jesus. I had to hit rock bottom and lose everything. He died for me, and he took my sins away. He cleansed me, and he adopted me. He's making me see that, I don't have to live by my sins or my past regrets, my shame. I can live, by his grace and his mercy, and he's showing me that I can lean on him, trust him, and love him more and more each day.
Dabbled in the wrong things, drugs, alcohol. He did amazing things for me on the cross. He shed his blood for me. He died so that I could be washed clean and have everlasting life with our Father in heaven. My heart is full of joy, where I'm full, where I was looking in drugs and alcohol and just everywhere trying to be happy. I'm happy now, like without a doubt, just full of life and motivation and hopefulness for the future. I'm ready to take the plunge and say that I have been redeemed.
I was very fearful. I got saved the same night as my sister. When I heard her verbally talk about her fear of going to hell and not heaven, that started stirring in my heart. So I knew then that, fear was a big issue. He gave his perfect life up for my imperfect life and shed his blood for me on the cross. I'm getting baptized today to show the world that I'm a disciple of Christ, and I'm not ashamed of the gospel.
I wanted to be with God because I love God and I don't want to go to the bad place. I want all the bad stuff off of me, and I want to go to heaven one day and be with God.
When I was around the age of 5, I accepted Christ, and after that, I knew that I was saved, and I knew I loved God, but especially throughout middle school, I just kind of found myself going through the motions and not really actively pursuing a relationship with him. A few years ago, I was listening to this song. The lyrics were really sticking out to me. It was basically talking about how a lot of times we just find ourselves just going through the motions and living almost asleep in our faith and not actively pursuing God and what he has for us. I was like, whoa, that's what I'm doing. I'm just living asleep in my faith, and I'm not pursuing God. I'm doing my best to follow him, but I'm not trying to make my faith grow at all. And so after that, I just realized I needed to follow God through whatever he said to me, and I needed to find ways to grow my faith. Like, my faith has grown so much, and now I want to be baptized.
The pastor asked everybody to close their eyes, and then he said, if you know you're saved, raise your hand. But then I didn't. And then the next one was, if you think you're saved, raise your hands. But I never raised my hand at that one. And then when he said, do you know you're not saved, I raised my hand. We sang a song, and my counselor asked me if I wanted to get saved, and I said yes, and then we went upstairs and I got saved. I wish everyone that I'm saved and I'm a part of God's family.
I grew up in a Christian family, and I accepted Christ at a very early age. I guess I didn't really truly and fully understand the good news. And it wasn't till not too long ago when we came to this church and I went to Treehouse, that it kind of just all hit me, like that God died on the cross for me. So little by little, I feel like God has been changing me in the way I interact with people, the decisions I make, and I want to show everybody that I am his and that I want to follow him.
Before I met Jesus, I was really concerned with myself and what other people thought of me. I was very selfish and always trying to change myself and see which ways I could make myself different so that people would like me more, people would like me best. Jesus died on the cross for me, and I realized that when I was at Camp Marietta when I was about 10 years old. And that's when I started my personal relationship with Jesus. We saw a picture how Jesus closed the gap that was separating me from God, and I really saw how much Jesus loved me because he did that for me. And so that's when I accepted Jesus as my Savior and started my relationship with him. God has totally changed me, and now instead of being selfish and always thinking of myself and doing whatever it takes to make people like me, I find my identity in Christ, and I know that I'm God's child, and that when God looks at me, he sees Jesus.
Before I came to Christ, I was very insecure, very scared person. I put my identity in other people and how they saw me, and a lot of times I viewed myself the way that people would hurt me. When God came into my life, there was this an inner peace where at that point it was more of a religion that I saw it as, and as I grew older, God helped me to make it more of a relationship with him. He spoke truth to me about all the lies I was believing in growing up. I feel really blessed to have the family that I have and be in this church, because I know that if it was up to me and my mistakes, I could have had a really horrible life. I know that God's beauty is because of his grace. I've kind of put off being baptized because I was worried about what people would think of me, because I've been baptized before. But that was during a lot of doubts of my salvation. And I really want to show God that I want to make him higher than my fear of man.